Welcome. This training has information about education and disability rights and how to use vocabulary from those rights to support young people with disabilities in school. We'll use the image of a pyramid to talk about special education rights, civil rights, and general education rights. A student with an individualized education program, an IEP, is protected all along the pyramid. Let's unpack what that might mean for a student you care for. Here's our student rights pyramid with federal laws listed at 3 levels. The next several slides are going to spell out each acronym and explain the laws. For now, let's consider the big picture. Children with disabilities who are eligible for an IEP are at the top with all the legal protections. All children with disabilities impacting their lives are eligible for support in the middle of the pyramid, where civil rights are protected. Free public education is a cornerstone of American democracy, and all children with and without disabilities have educational rights that are protected at the base of the pyramid. Let's break it down a little more. Special education rights are protected at the top of the pyramid by a federal law called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA for short. The IDEA requires schools to provide an individualized education program, an IEP, to any student with a disability condition who is found eligible through an evaluation process. An IEP is built to support a student's access to education. An IEP is not the student's curriculum. Every IEP is required to support progress toward grade level learning. IEP services support the whole child to access all educational opportunities, not just academics. Civil rights are protected in the center of the pyramid. Section 504 is part of a federal law called the Rehabilitation Act, which was passed by the U.S. Congress in 1973. This law provides disability protections for people accessing public services and spaces throughout their lives. When we talk about school-age children protected by this law, we might be talking about IEP services, or we might be talking about a 504 plan. Both include accommodations and other supports to make sure that school and learning are accessible. The other civil rights law on our pyramid is the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. The ADA protects individuals from disability discrimination by requiring accommodations that support equity. A person in a wheelchair, for example, has the civil right to access their job and public buildings with accessible features. The civil right to be accommodated is protected for all significant disability conditions. General education rights are the foundation for our pyramid. All students have the right to a free public education that is built to help them learn and make progress toward their life plans and goals. That federal law is called ESSA, which is short for Every Student Succeeds Act. Access to education is a basic right of all children in the United States, and ESSA provides specific protections for students whose lives begin from a place of disadvantage due to poverty, language access, racism, housing instability, or something else. If a student has unmet needs and is therefore not attending school regularly, there may be considerations related to ESSA. Before we get back to our pyramid, I want to mention specific federal and state protections for students who are homeless or unstably housed, with and without families supporting them. The federal McKinney-Vento Education of Homeless Children and Youth Assistance Act provides funding to states to ensure that students with unstable housing can immediately enroll and attend school in their preferred or previous home district, regardless of where they currently lay their heads. McKinney-Vento covers transportation. Washington State passed a law in 2016 to uphold McKinney-Vento and create ways to track homeless students and how they are doing. The state law is called the Homeless Student Stability and Opportunity Gap Act. You can ask your school district who is responsible for supporting applications for McKinney-Vento protections. Another place to get information is our state educational agency, which is the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, OSPI. If this is something you need more information about, pause the video to make a note. Here's our pyramid of student rights all put together again. With the next few slides, we'll take a closer look at how civil rights are protected by Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. A person of any age is eligible for protections under Section 504 if they have a disability significantly impacting how they function in their life. The two questions that are asked through evaluation are listed on this slide. Is there a disability? And is it causing significant impact to a major life activity? Lawmakers didn't put limits on what that might mean. For example, long COVID is recognized as a disability condition with legal protections. Here's a short list of life activities: learning, reading, breathing, talking, eating, walking, toileting, socializing, thinking, attention, participation. This list is endless. If someone's life is impacted by disability, they have the right to accommodations and support, so their opportunities are not limited by disability. That's the essence of equity, when specific help makes it possible to do something that non-disabled people do without that help. Here's a simplified way to think about what Section 504 protects. If a child with an identified disability needs something to access what non-disabled students access without support, then not serving that identified need is discrimination. Disability discrimination violates a person's civil rights. The right to be accommodated includes all areas of school: classrooms, lunchrooms, buses, sports, school dances, every space, activity, or opportunity that is available for all the school's children. Section 504 protections are upheld through accommodations, modifications, assistive technology, specific services, for example, nursing, aids that might be a human supporter or something else, and more. The key is that these supports are individualized. For more about how Section 504 protections are supported at school, watch Pave's second video in this series. It's called Accommodations and Modifications for Students with Disabilities. Anti-bullying measures are written explicitly into Section 504. Schools are required to provide restoration, counseling, or whatever a student with a disability needs to recover from a bullying incident that happened during a school-sponsored activity. Families and students can file complaints with their school district related to harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Those are called HIB complaints. Every district must provide a form for filing a HIB complaint. Pave provides an article with more information about disability protections related to bullying. Type the word bullying into the search bar at wapave.org. Section 504 includes specific civil rights protections related to student discipline. In short, schools are required to teach expected behavior and limit the use of punitive discipline. In July 2022, the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights issued a guidance document called Supporting Students with Disabilities and Avoiding the Discriminatory Use of Student Discipline under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. This booklet is downloadable from the Office for Civil Rights. Pave provides a link on the page where you clicked to watch this video. Pause the video and make a note for yourself if you want to look this up. Section 504 includes specific rules about mitigating measures. A mitigating measure is a coping strategy or adaptation that a person with a disability uses to eliminate or reduce the effects of an impairment. For example, a person who is deaf might learn to read lips. A person with attention challenges might take medication. A person with dyslexia may read using audible books. Because a person has adapted to their disability does not mean they give up the right to be evaluated and served with appropriate individualized accommodations and other supports. For more information, type 504 into the search bar at our website, wapave.org. The information on this slide is included in Pave's article about Section 504. If a school is not following a student's Section 504 plan or upholding a child's right to be protected from discrimination or harassment, anyone with knowledge of the situation can file a complaint. If you wish to file a civil rights complaint at the local level, you can request paperwork and guidance from the Section 504 ADA compliance officer at the school district. State-level complaints can be filed with the Equity and Civil Rights Office or the Human Rights Commission. At the federal level, complaints are managed by the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, OCR. The federal office makes clear that civil rights complaints may include intersecting topics. For example, a complaint might include a claim of disability discrimination and racism, or discrimination related to a person's sexual orientation or gender. The next section of this training focuses on the top of the pyramid, where special education rights are protected by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the IDEA. This is the law that provides a specific process for students served through an IEP. The IDEA includes parts A, B, C, and D. Part A describes the overall goals of the law. Part B covers services for public school students with qualifying disabilities from age 3 until they graduate or age out of services at 21. The right to an IEP is protected by Part B. Part C protects babies with qualifying disabilities or developmental delays through their 3rd birthday. Pave provides separate trainings about early services provided through the Individualized Family Services Plan, an IFSP. Part D of the IDEA provides federal funding for parent training and information, such as our PTI within Pave. It's interesting that the founders of the law understood that what they were building was complicated and that families would need help to understand their rights and how to seek appropriate services for their children with disabilities. Part D also provides funding for other technical assistance centers to help agencies like OSPI and the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, DCYF, to implement the law. Here's information from Part A of the IDEA, which describes the law's overall purpose. Special education ensures that all children with disabilities have available to them a free, appropriate public education, FAPE, designed to meet their individual needs and prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. In other words, supporting the transition into adult life is part of the school's basic responsibility when supporting a student with a disability through their school-age years. When a school evaluates a student to determine eligibility for services, there are 3 questions. Here are the first 2 questions. Does the student have a disability? Does the disability adversely impact education? Those 2 questions probably look familiar. A yes answer means the student is already eligible for protections from Section 504, which we've already discussed. Those needs are met through accommodations, modifications, assistive technology, aids, and more. Civil rights protect the right to those supports. The third question is unique to the IEP. If a student needs specially designed instruction, SDI, to make meaningful progress in education, then they are eligible for an IEP. They receive SDI through an Individualized Services Program. Each area of SDI includes at least one goal that is tracked within the IEP. For example, a student who is learning to read with specially designed reading services will have at least one reading goal. For more information about the nuts and bolts of the IEP, watch the 3rd video in this training series called IEP Goal Setting, Present Levels, SDI, and SMART Goals. IEP services meet the requirements of the IDEA when they provide a student with FAPE, a free, appropriate public education. How and where services are delivered is determined by an IEP team. In other words, the IEP team's primary goal is to figure out what FAPE means and how to deliver it for a specific student. Here's a question Pave hears a lot from parents. What does the school have to provide? FAPE is the answer to that question. The school has to provide FAPE, a free, appropriate public education, to students with qualifying disabilities. FAPE is the right of students with IEPs and those with Section 504 plans, although FAPE rights are slightly different within those 2 options. If you've got pen and paper handy, write this down. FAPE, FAPE, free, appropriate public education. Do you have any questions about what FAPE means for a student who is important to you? Is this a question for your next IEP team meeting? Pause the video if you want to write something down so you won't forget. You may be wondering, what does it really mean to get FAPE? The Supreme Court wrestled with that question in 2017 and answered with a ruling. FAPE is provided when a student's special education program is reasonably calculated to enable a child to make progress appropriate in light of the child's circumstances. Family advocates can talk about FAPE by asking questions about a student's progress on learning goals. If there isn't solid progress, the student may not be getting FAPE. Each time the family meets with the school to formally talk about a student's services, the school is required to offer a copy of the procedural safeguards. Washington State updated the procedural safeguards in 2022, so make sure your copy is the most recent version. Our state agency, OSPI, provides links to download a copy in many different languages. Find OSPI's link on the page where you click to watch this video. The procedural safeguards describe the rights of students and families in more legal detail than what we've provided in this training video. The procedural safeguards also provide detail about deadlines the school is responsible to follow and how the process of special education evaluation is designed to work. The procedural safeguards describe dispute resolution options that are available for families. Our next slide will give a high-level overview of those options. It's in your best interest to read your procedural safeguards and ask the school questions about any parts that you don't understand. Listed on this slide are the primary options available to families when they disagree with the school. A mediation or facilitated IEP meeting is run by a neutral person trained in meeting facilitation and mediation. This free service is provided in Washington State by an agency called Sound Options Group. A family member can reach out to Sound Options directly or ask their school district to arrange a meeting through this service. Historically, these all-day or half-day meetings were done at school or district offices. The COVID-19 pandemic has introduced online meeting options. A mediation is a place to discuss broad differences of opinion in an effort to find common ground. A facilitated IEP is a working meeting when the IEP team needs someone there to make sure everyone is fully heard and participating in the process of IEP development. A community complaint is a fairly simple process that involves filling out a form if you believe the school has done something improper, such as not following the IEP or not developing an appropriate IEP for a student with a disability. You don't have to know what law the school might be breaking to file a complaint. Pave provides a video training to help you understand how to file a community complaint. Type community complaint into the search bar at wapave.org or look for the link where you clicked to watch this video. Due process is the most formal and legal way to file a complaint against the school district. OSPI provides online information and guidance from a family liaison. OSPI also provides a legal assistance list to support families who want help from a paid attorney. Some attorneys work pro bono. A unique feature of due process is the stay put provision, which keeps a student in their current placement with IEP services while the complaint moves through a legal process that is overseen by an administrative law judge. Families seeking legal advice on topics related to special education services may get help from a statewide youth education law collaborative. Lawyers from the Northwest Justice Project, the Washington Autism Alliance, Team Child, and more provide free legal assistance through a statewide hotline. The service is designed to offer support for the legal educational needs of youth ages 3 to 21, with a priority of serving low-income students with special education and 504 concerns. Topics also may relate to discrimination, school discipline, harassment, intimidation, and bullying, HIB, McKinney-Vento, and school transfer and enrollment issues. There is no one staffing the line, and people should leave a voicemail. There are 2 numbers listed on the slide: 1-206-707-0877, or the toll-free number 1-844-435-7676. Here's another look at the student rights pyramid all put together. Remember that students at the top have all the protections all the way down. Any person with a disability condition significantly impacting their life has the civil rights protections in the middle. All children are protected at the bottom. Let's pause here so you might think about how to use this pyramid of rights in a situation you might be managing. Grab a pencil and a piece of paper if you want to make a note for yourself. Here are some actions you might want to plan. You might request an evaluation from the school. The state requires evaluation referrals to be in writing. An evaluation is the first step, regardless of whether a student may be eligible for a Section 504 plan or an IEP. You may want to look at your student's IEP or 504 plan with a fresh eye and mark it up with your questions for the next school meeting. Perhaps you need to contact someone at the school or district to ask questions or to request a meeting. You may want to look something up online or go back to the page where you found this video to follow some of the links. Pave provides a library of videos, including the ones that cover accommodations and IEP goals as part of this training series. We also have articles that are searchable by topic, such as 504. Our hope is that this video empowers you to know what you might do next in support of a student that you care for. Good luck with your ongoing project, and we're here to support your questions. This training is provided by Parent Training and Information, PTI, a program of Pave. Our not-for-profit has been helping families in Washington State since 1979. This slide shows a picture of our website homepage. Our address is wapave.org. Students, family members, and professionals can get direct assistance by clicking Get Help, highlighted with the yellow circle. You can also leave a message by phone to request help, 800-572-7368. We provide language translation options. The teal arrow is pointing to the place on our website to choose a language for reading our articles online. If you need help with the accessibility of any of our resources, please let us know. Please note that Pave is not a legal service organization and cannot give legal advice or represent families. PTI's funding comes from a U.S. Department of Education grant, but the U.S. government doesn't review our training materials in order to endorse them. We'd love to know whether this training was helpful to you. On the page where you found this video, there's a link to a short survey. Thank you for sharing your feedback. And please contact us at wapave.org for individualized assistance or further training opportunities.